TIFU by sleeping with a woman I actually like. So, I met this girl off Bumble, yeah I know, and we really hit it off. Me 28. Her 22. She has just moved to my city for a new job and we really had very similar in-law views. We have gone out a couple times now and they went really well. We have even FaceTimed a couple times and each time was better than the last. We had a date last night and we went to this Italian restaurant. Had some good eats and great conversation. Like no awkward pauses or lapse in conversation for like 3 hours. After that we both wanted a change of scenery, so she invited me back to her place to check out the show Solar Opposites. A couple episodes in, we start making out and things get hot and heavy. She mentions that she wants me to take lead and I wanted to be respectful as I really do like her and I didn't want this to become a hit it and quit it situation, and she told me to get out of my head about it. So, we had sex and I stayed over. I just got home and I'm having second thoughts. I don't want her to resent me as I would like to spend more time with her. Too long didn't read slept with girl I'm vibing with and now I think I ruined it. Edit 1 texted her saying I had a great time and I look forward to seeing her. She texted back being very brief and not saying much. Currently haven't heard from her since. I can't see how this is a TIFU. Are there some stereotype from movies or something that you shouldn't have sex early in a relationship? Duck that literally. You're consenting adults who had a great time. Do whatever feels right. Have fun together. Sounds like you're a great match for each other. My fiance and I had sex on our first date. I have anxiety and overthink way too much. I worried I had messed up my chances too. 3 years later, and he's still here. It's about the connection. I'd say it's very good to have sex early, when both parties are comfortable with it. Of course it doesn't have to be the first date, but I don't see any problem with that either. Sex is, for most people, an important part of a relationship. So it should only be natural to get to know each other on that level before committing to anything. What if both have their respective kinks? That's not at all compatible. Not a great foundation for a good sex life. When I met my wife, after things started to happen between us, she took the initiative to talk about sex. Something I'd never done before. We had sex maybe on the 3rd date. After we had talked about what we like and dislike, etc. We've had great sex ever since. Dude, just take a step back and consider all circumstances of consent she gave to you. She consented to a date. She suggested and then consented to you coming back to her place. She consented to making out and escalating the physical contact. Consented to giving you the lead. And finally consented to sex and you spending the night. As long as you didn't disregard any non-consent, then you literally did nothing wrong. You should text her that you had a great time. That she looked amazing. And you'd love to see her again. Sex early on in the relationship doesn't mean anything other than two people wanted to have sex. It's as simple as that. And overthinking it doesn't do any good for either person. Did you just Madonna whore complex yourself? You didn't want to be sleazy, so you did have sex, but are now all kinds of conflicted and awkward about it. You realize that to avoid a hit it and quit it situation you only need to not quit it after you hit it right. From your comments she seems fine. She cuddled up to you. Mentioned your date you already had set for tomorrow. And you just left in the early morning. And posted an angsty Reddit TIFU. I wonder if you're really afraid of bailing after sex. Because it's exactly what you're causing. Do you think she enjoyed the sex? Like, did she seem to be into and orgasm? Was she cuddly afterwards or distant? How did things feel in the morning? Did you guys have the same chatty vibe? If she seemed to have a good time with you and the atmosphere afterwards was just as good as before, then I wouldn't worry about it. I will admit to having dates myself where, even though the date was good, the sex was just them getting themselves off with little regard for my pleasure. So long as you're working together to make sure you both have a mutually satisfying time, I wouldn't overthink it. My boyfriend and I tried to have sex on our first date. Because the chemistry was just too strong, didn't go through with it due to some technical difficulties on both ends, and both of us still knew it wasn't about sex and that it was about a real connection. We've currently been together for over a year and are just really passionate about each other. You aren't a sleazebag for things escalating because of a connection, so don't limit yourself. Hey, don't get down on yourself. If she is anything like me, before I got with my husband I ghosted him for a month because I was scared of the feelings I was having. And we had been talking for months already. I never felt that way before and didn't know how to deal with it. Maybe she is going through the same thing and really likes you and doesn't know how to process those feelings yet. Stay optimistic, bruh. Don't overthink it too much. My husband and I have been together for nearly 9 years now. Hope this helps some. 3 months ago, full lockdown here in EU, I've met a perfect girl for me 25 yo. Her 24 yo, same hobbies, opinions, interests, jokes, everything. We started texting, calling and seeing each other whenever we could. Then after like 6 days she invited me over and if I want to stay overnight. We had 6 and the next day, we had lunch. She introduced me to her friends etc. Then in the evening I had to go home and the last message I got from her is that it was awesome and everything but everything was too fast and then I got blocked everywhere. So let me get this straight, she wanted you to take the lead in female, that means you better duck me now because I'm horny and you feel like it cheapened yours relationship. You should be on cloud 9 right now. Text her, tell her that last night was incredible and go from there. Compliment her, tell her she felt amazing. And if you sucked in bed because you were in your head, apologize and promise you'll make it up. Having sex so soon isn't a bad thing. Heck, it's a great way to figure out if there is real chemistry. I've dated men who were fascinating and great conversationalists, but in bed there was zero fireworks. My husband of 14 years was my really good friend and we both wanted each other for so long, but neither one of us ever said anything because we didn't want to ruin our friendship. Finally, we threw all our feelings out there and ducked for almost 3 days straight. Best sex of my life and we were like rabbits for years. Even now with the kids, house, jobs etc. we still act like teens we were 18. Point of all that is, if you can't think so damn much and let yourself get in the way of something, that could be the best thing to happen to you. Edit because English. If you don't mind me asking, do you by chance have OCD? I'm not trying to diagnose you or anything. It's just that I have a friend with OCD who gets anxious in a very mother-in-law way, as in, he gets worried about having done something immoral, even though no one else can see how his actions were immoral in the slightest. Plus the things he's worried about are usually sexual in nature, just like in your case. And I'm wondering if maybe the things that help him would help you too. Those things are 1. Psychotherapy, and 2. Whenever he gets worried that he might have just done something bad, he immediately asks us, his friend group, if what he did was okay or not. And when we tell him it's okay, he feels somewhat reassured that it was all in his head. The first point is definitely more reliable, and I definitely suggest seeing a therapist if you feel this kind of anxious regret often. But also maybe just explaining this situation to some people whose judgment you trust and asking if they think you did anything wrong would help. Spoiler alert, as long as you don't misrepresent the situation, they're probably gonna think you didn't do anything wrong. Because you didn't. Sorry, I know it's pretty big-headed of me to give you advice like this. I don't know you and I barely understand the situation. I'm just throwing in my 2 cents because this post really reminded me of my friend. If I totally missed the mark with this comment, then just go ahead and ignore it, haha. I'm just hoping you find something useful here. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing for more videos.